Yes.
Wow. Okay. Good man. Uh, we're going to keep Rob on here for 2 hours to make sure we answer everybody's questions. Now, so if you have questions you want to call in and ask of Rob, or if you have suggestions on preparedness, 877-342-6673, 877-342-6673, or you can get into the chat room, and we will do our best to monitor that and pull questions out of there as well. And I want to make just a couple quick announcements. Gary is helping me get the right equipment, and Rinse Network itself, is eventually going to a platform where we broadcast not only audio but video. And Gary from the Smart Scarecrow program that you can see 9 o'clock Eastern every Thursday on Justin TV and listen to every Monday 5 o'clock West, 8 o'clock East on Wide Awake News Radio, is helping me get the right equipment so that I can not only do Skype via Skype through the Rinse Network, but also put the feed through to Justin TV and have the ability to take callers on Skype and broadcast that so it works seamlessly. And I greatly appreciate his help on that. But hopefully within the next 2 weeks we have this capability, and I'll have more time to do like promo videos for the program, which I haven't been able to do for the last couple of weeks. And I know a lot of people are bummed out about that because they used to check what was on the program via YouTube. So, anyway, I just want to let everybody know that's what's going on with why Justin TV feed is still not working. Well, it's working, but it's not set up, and we will have that hopefully in short order. All right, I uploaded a video tonight, and it's going to play kind of into what our topic's going to be tonight: the need to prepare. And it's titled, and it's going to be titled, and isn't uploaded yet. Nothing is what it seems, because I got back home late last night, and I was watching the highlights, if you will, of the latest sporting events, which is debating. The presidential debate has turned into nothing more than a sporting event. They keep score at the end of it. They who had the best zingers, who had the best one-liners, who won the first round, who won the second round, and the list goes on. But nobody's addressing the real issues that are leading to the demise of the United States of America and an inevitable financial collapse that's going to leave a lot of people very, very surprised, shocked, and not prepared. So nothing is what it seems. Our financial system, our political system, the war on terror, everything that is being presented to us by a mainstream media that's corporate owned, by a Washington elite that is corporate owned, and by the corporate financial juggernauts themselves, is always wrapped in some sort of spin. If you look at our political system, we have a bought and paid for, left and right, blue and red, two-person, two-party debate, two-party system, where we have no choices whatsoever. And I get this from time to time, this argument that we get to vote for who runs this country, and therefore we are responsible for the demise of this country because we voted these scoundrels in. Well, the fact of the matter is that is not true. It's not true. 310 million people live in the United States of America. Look at the short list of people who run for these higher offices in Washington, D.C. It is a very short list. It is people who put in their time, spend a bunch of money, rubbed a bunch of elbows on Wall Street, and get the financial support of these same financial institutions. This is who we get to vote for. Mitt Romney spent millions of dollars in 2008 of his own money and Wall Street money in order to set himself up to be the heir apparent behind John McCain. This is how we do politics in the United States of America. It isn't the best person. We don't have the smartest, the brightest, the most capable in Washington, D.C. We have the one that is the most has the most exposure to a financial super elite. Period. Plain and simple. If you need an example of this, Jill Stein and Sherry Honkala are running as president and vice presidential candidate from the Green Party. Now, the Green Party is just as legitimate, has just as much right to be heard, and is just as valid as any other party. I don't care if it's the Democrat, Republican, Green, Libertarian, Communist, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is the United States of America. Everybody is supposed to be heard. Everybody is supposed to have a voice. Yet when they showed up in protest last night at the debate, saying, you know what, we want our fair share, we want our chance for the American people to hear us. Well, a corporate-owned media isn't going to let that happen. a corporate-owned debate system that is run by the debate committee will not let that happen. And therefore, these folks, Jill Stein and Cherry Hankel, were arrested. And the video you can see on YouTube right now. And if you look at my video later on tonight, you'll see it attached there as well. So if you want to have a political say, well, you can either read Drudge or any of the other left or right-leaning media outlets, and you can pick a team and you can rah-rah and talk about how dumb the other guy is and how great your guy is. But if you truly want to look for a redress of your grievances, or better yet, if you want to share your ideas and try to consolidate opinion and consolidate thought in this country in a direction that's outside of the mainstream, you're going to get tagged and bagged, just like Jill and Sherry found out last night. Nothing is what it seems. Our political system is an absolute, total charade. If we look at our financial system that we're told is coming out of recession. We've been told this for going on 4 years now. We're told things are getting better. Our GDP is going to continue to grow, and we've created 5 million jobs, and we're leveling out. The housing market's coming back, and everything's going to be fine. Nothing is what it seems. This is trillions of dollars that have been spent in order to bail out a few institutions with some trinkets showered over the rest of the economy to keep it from falling off of a cliff. But at the exact same time, we've managed to create a nation where over 50% of the people need some sort of assistance from government in order to put food on their table. Nothing is what it seems. 46 million people on food stamps, millions of people foreclosed on, millions of people unemployed, millions of people not even counted anymore. This is the real scene that you're not going to hear about until it's time to pay. And when it becomes time to pay, everything will be as it seems. When you see the dollar fall through the floor, when you see austerity measures sweep across this country, safety nets yanked out from under folks, then things will be as they seem. When you have people that are hungry and their dollar doesn't buy as much as it did, and they're doing everything possible just to put food on the table and keep the lights on, then things will be as they seem. This is the reason we are bringing Rob on, and going to continue to bring him on a monthly basis to help us with ideas and tips on what we can do to prepare for a crisis that, in my opinion, is without a doubt inevitable. Rob, welcome back to the program. It's great to have you on. Rob, Hanus, what is your website we can check out, and tell us about your program? Introduce yourself, because we got a minute before the break. I rammed too long.
No problem, Charlie. I'm really glad to be here. You can, as well as your listeners, get to my website at thepreparednesspodcast.com. I got as much information up there as I can get. I've got a ton more I've got to put up there, but I'm just one guy, and most of my time is spent doing the podcasts. That's where most of my information is being put out, but I know there's a lot of people who, don't have time to listen to podcasts, or they want to read the information, so I'm trying to put more and more stuff on the website, but you can access all the podcasts there and listen to my great sultry voice as many hours as you can stand.
That gets sultry in there, because it's already getting weird.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad to have you back on the program. Like I said, you betcha. Last time we had you on, we ended up just kind of shooting the breeze, and I think we ended up getting one or two questions answered, some of them that I had myself that I didn't even get to answer. So if you're in the chat, guys, we are going to come into this first break, so I'm not going to even start down the road. But if you're in the chat and you have a question, start putting them in now. If you want to call in with either questions on preparedness, urban setting, wilderness setting, if you're inner city, if you want to bug in, bug out, call us up. We have our expert on, and guys, I've listened to his podcast. There's a lot of good information that comes out from Rob and his program. So take advantage of this opportunity. Like I said, we're only going to bring him on here once a month. But get on the phones and let's get some dialogue on the need for prep, what you're doing to prep, and potential outcomes we could see in the near future. We're going to be back with Rob Hanus and more Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes. Hang tight. Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question from my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe Elton and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit them online at austincoins.com.
Remember this name, Carnivora. That's CARNIVORA.com. What if I told you that this 100% pure and natural product was delivered directly to the White House at President Reagan's personal request at a time when only the president was able to obtain it? Reagan used this amazing product, Carnivora, successfully, a product derived only from nature that has the intelligence to instinctively attack abnormal cells only without harming a single normal cell, and the power to actually wake up critical immune cells from dormancy to attack foreign invaders that don't belong in our bodies. Carnivora is now obtainable by anyone who wants to get healthy and stay that way. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and protect yourself with 17 naturally occurring compounds that will unleash powerful immune defense. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and get your Carnivora today. Visit carnivora.com.
Will 2012 bring the Mayan end of world or the global banking collapse? In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. This week, Mike unleashes 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Charlie McGrath, 17th of October, Wednesday. Rob Hanus is joining us from the Preparedness Pod Cast, and we're going to talk prep next hour and 45 minutes. Now, guys, last time he was on, we fielded some questions, mostly, I think we had a couple on that we took over the air, and several that we're still holding. So if you want to get on here with for questions for Rob or with something that has to do with prep suggestions or what you're doing to prepare, 877-342-6673, or get into the chat. I'm actually jumping between 2 different chats here, Skype and my room, so I will do my best to monitor that. Rob,
I'm having my kids dial right now, so we're going to pad the questions.
Oh, good deal. there we go. They're like my kid, they'll be zingers too. So how much allowance are you planning to give in a breakdown crisis?
Right, or why can't I play Minecraft more?
Yeah, excuse me. Can we get a generator to keep the Minecraft going?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Excuse me while I take a drink of water there. All right, I told you during the break that I'm unpacking my emergency bottle that Chris Atkins sent me. Chris Atkins of Buy Emergency Foods. He sent me a emergency preparedness bottle, and first of all, I'm completely amazed at how much stuff that they were able to shove into this thing. And what I first want to, this automatically goes into my bag that's with me wherever I go. I put it in the car if I'm going to work, and if I take a trip somewhere, this is in my bag of other items that I think are essential for getting back home. Not necessarily putting out, but getting back home. I mean, my first goal is my plan for preparedness is that if I'm involved in a crisis situation, be it man-made, natural, whatever, I want to be able to get at a foundation of a starting point of everything else. What I mean by that is, depending on the crisis and the situation, I want to be fluid, but I want to have a foundation of where I start, and it's in my home. This is where I have the most of everything. This is where I have the most best way to defend myself. This is where I have the most of my emergency preparedness supplies. So this is my starting point. And wherever I'm at, I want to be able to return here. So I have I don't know what we call this, a mini bug out bag, a get home bag, an emergency kit. But I want to get your opinion on this concept of.
Well, is that what you carry every day?
Every day.
And typically that's what we would call an EDC, or your everyday carry. It's the stuff that you have with you all the time. And it should, some people do different levels, but typically it's supposed to give you the ability to take care of most everyday emergencies or most everyday issues. Like here in the desert, part of my everyday carry is a tube of chapstick because it's so dry all the time. Somebody else who's in a rainy environment, their everyday carry might include a poncho, because you never know when it's going to rain, and it's the easiest thing to carry, or a rain jacket or something. But your everyday carry is what you keep with you in order to have the ability to handle the little emergencies, like the train stop running, or you get a flat tire or two flat tires, and you need to wait on the side of the road while AAA comes for you and stuff. It's those little things. It's not really designed to bug out with, because you would need a lot more equipment and probably a lot better quality equipment than what you can carry with you all the time. But some people carry their everyday carry just in their pockets. Some like a book bag or a computer bag. Some have a specific backpack that they carry with them, and it's just a little bag that you can take with you wherever you go.
Well, let me ask you, because mine's fairly extensive, and the reason is, I travel sometimes, distances of maybe an hour away from home by car, and my concern is that I run into a situation where maybe I'm not able to use my car to get home, and I'm forced to rough it while I travel back home. Is that? I mean, I know that seems extreme, but living in Montana, 10 miles away, if I wanted to avoid any populated area, or I wanted to avoid crowds or stuff like that, a 10-mile journey that is as a crow fly might involve a 15, 20-mile journey to avoid crisis situations, and that journey might take me from 4,000 feet elevation to 14,000 feet elevation, so my thought has always been, I want to be able to get wherever I'm at back home. Granted, if I'm 100 miles away, my plan falls apart because I can't hike 100 miles with my everyday bag. But the notion of maybe having to spend a night or two outside of my vehicle, outside of a home, in a rural setting, a wilderness setting, is always in my mind. Maybe it's because I live in such a large state, and so much of our area is wildland. So is that something that's in your mind a good idea, or am I?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Oh, sure, absolutely. If you're going down the path of, or am I just paranoid? No, you're not paranoid. You're taking precautions and being prudent to make sure that should something happen, you have the tools and the opportunities or the options in order to take some other course of action, whether that's walking home or hailing a cab because you've got some cash in your bag or whatever. I don't know how much we got to go to break. Is that what I hear?
Yeah, we got a break coming up. But so you said you don't know how much what?
Well, I was going to say I don't know how much we're going to cover in this, but I have a whole podcast on the EDC pack.
Let's do it. We'll talk about that. Let's start with that because that's one thing I wanted to get some questions answered from last time, and it is this everyday carry. So we're going to be back with Rob Hanus, more Wide Awake News Radio, and get on here with your prep questions, 877-342-6673. We'll be right back. Hey guys, it's Charlie McGrath with Wide Awake News Radio and WideAwakeNews.com. In 2007, 26 million Americans were on food stamps. 2012, the numbers exploded to over 46 million people relying on the government to put food on the table. Debt's out of control across the planet, pushing us towards a financial Armageddon. Talk of war seems to fill every newscast. And disasters, both man-made and natural, seem to be on the rise. Can you think of a better time in history than now to be prepared for the unexpected? Guys, I want to introduce you to our new partners in alternative media. BuyEmergencyFoods.com. BuyEmergencyFoods.com offers the best kind of emergency food, Legacy Premium, with the largest variety available in the freeze-dried food industry. Each meal is packed for freshness in an individual nitrogen-flushed Mylar pouch. The meal is then sealed in a stackable heavy-duty plastic container that's easy to store, easy to transport, and won't be damaged by water or rodents. So if you're worried about food inflation, economic crisis, unemployment, natural disaster, then don't delay. Prepare your family now. Visit our new partners in alternative media, BuyEmergencyFoods.com. Give them a call at 888-543-7345, or again, visit them at BuyEmergencyFoods.com.
You're listening to Charlie nationwide and worldwide on the internet on the Rinse Radio Network. Known worldwide as the most consistently fascinating, informative, and unique program on radio, the Jeff Rense program can be yours to listen to anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to hear it. For pennies a day, our subscribers can download any of Jeff's thousands of programs featuring a treasury of newsmakers, researchers, eyewitnesses, and incredible subjects, all in MP3 commercial-free, crystal-clear 56-bit digital sound, and take these often unforgettable programs with them wherever they go. As a subscriber, you can also listen live at airtime, online, anywhere in the world, or browse through our archives of over 10,000 hours of legendary broadcasts. Subscribe now by taking the link at the top of Rense.com and enrich your mind with the most unique panorama of vital information and the best independent, honest journalism in radio. Look for the Subscribe Now link on Rense.com and give yourself the knowledge you need for these unprecedented times.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. If you are ready to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then you're ready for Heart and Body Extract from Healthy Hearts Club. Heart and Body Extract has a 23-year proven track record of using certified organic herbs that make up an excellent formula to balance and support the heart and circulatory system. In as little as 2 weeks, you can feel amazing results when your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Prepper extraordinaire Rob Hanus is our guest. We're talking prep for the next hour and a half, and I wrote down a couple things out of the chat, and I'm going to get to them. I thought Sinner had a really great question, and it's kind of one I have as well. But to start this segment off, we're going to talk a little bit about, actually a lot of bit about the bag you carry every day. What do you call it? The everyday carry, EDC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and you said you did a whole podcast on it, which you can please give us the website again so we can go and listen to it. But let's get into it a little bit. What are you recommending? What is your train of thought? And and I understand that, it's hard when somebody says, what do you recommend? And so somebody asked me what I recommend for gold and silver. Well, I recommend that this is the thought process you use in deciding, what you want to put your wealth into. I don't want to recommend anybody goes out and do 10% this, 20% that, but this is what I think you should think about. So give us what we should be thinking about when we're formulating a plan, and then what will be in that everyday carry.
Sure. Well, the everyday carry is what you carry every day, and it's designed to...
How apropos.
Yes. That's why I think we all call it EDC, so we're not constantly repeating ourselves. But it's designed to give you a minimal, at the very least, amount of supplies with you that you can have to take care of the everyday emergencies. And they're not necessarily emergencies. They're everyday situations. As I mentioned, I carry chapstick. Well, here, for example, I do have a podcast on this. It's episode 116. If you go to the preparednesspodcast.com and in the little search bar, search for episode 116, you'll probably find that's the easiest way I can actually direct you here without giving a whole long URL. But, here's my everyday carry. My wallet, my cell phone, and to me, that should be a text-capable cell phone, because you can, in an emergency, you may not be able to call, but text messages will most likely go through because they go on a completely different circuit. My ID, money, credit, debit cards, a flashlight other than your phone. These iPhones and I think these Androids, they can turn on the little lights, which is great. I consider that as a backup, but a separate little flashlight, a small butane lighter, a pocket knife, a bandana, a couple small multi-tools, some cordage, my chapstick, and I have a contact list, a little handwritten. Actually, it's printed out in very small type, and I put some tape over that, or you can laminate that and keep it in your wallet so you have a non-digital form of all the phone numbers that your friends, your families, and people you'd want to contact. And typically that's stuff I can carry on me without a bag. I don't need any extra bag to do that. And the way I look at everyday carry is I want to be able to get to my vehicle because my vehicle has more stuff in it. And if I needed to, say, bug out from a vehicle or bug back home and have to hoof it or there's civil unrest and I need to do a little bit of evasive maneuvers, I can't because I've got more stuff in my truck if I simply can't just drive it itself. So for me, my everyday carry is more about what I need every day and what I would need to get to my truck. So if I'm in for example, a building and the power goes out and it's dark because there's no external windows, I've got my flashlight, I can make it out to the outside. If there's an earthquake or a tornado or whatever it is, I have enough supplies with me to be able to get to my truck. That's how I look at everyday carry. But, other people may be different. They may be taking a subway, or they may have to work in an office building or something. And so your everyday carry isn't necessarily what you carry with you on your person every day. It could be a backpack, like a briefcase or a computer bag. You could have some stuff at your office so that if you had to flee from there, you could grab like a water bottle, some food bars, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. It sounds what you're calling your truck bag is kind of my everyday carry, and I mean it. I mean, when I leave the car, it goes into the office with me, and it's a backpack. It isn't it isn't just a wallet and that kind of thing. Although that is in there. And I wrote down the things that you have on yours that I thought was a great idea that I didn't, which one of namely would be a contact list. I think I have all the numbers in my head of people that I want to call or be able to contact, but when I stop and look at my phone and there's hundreds of contacts in there, no, I don't. So I mean, there's people across the country that I'm related to that I can't tell you their numbers. So I think that's a great idea.
Well, we get very used to using speed dial
right.
on our phones. I mean, even before smartphones came along, our home phones had speed dial. That was the big thing. And then cell phones, and now everything is in a contact list, and you just hit somebody's name and it dials. Well, that's very conducive to us remembering what those phone numbers are. So I think it's very important to have that contact list. Plus, you should establish an out-of-state contact for everybody in your family. That's where you try to call, because a lot of times the phone signals, the phone lines in the local area that's affected, they're all jammed up. But a lot of times you can call long distance. So if you set, Grandma or Aunt Susie to be the out-of-state contact, and everybody tries to call that person, and they become a bulletin board for everybody.
Great idea. Great. I mean, that is a great idea. And what I've done, and again, I'm developing, you're the expert. I'm developing my, or I should say, shaping and reshaping my plan, is that I've talked to people in my, the people I care about, loved ones that I care about, to let them know in an event, and fill in the blank, where there is no contact, this is my plan. I will get to A. I will get to B, or whatever the case may be. I want the people I love to know where I am and what I plan on doing. That, therefore, if we have an event that, there is no cell communication, I can't text somebody, I can't get that last, that last quick phone call out saying, hey, I'm here, I'm going to be home at this time, or whatever, that they'll have the security to know, and I'll have the security to know what they're going to do. So I've talked beforehand, but I do like the idea of having a contact person outside of the state. And, even if, and I think in a real crisis breakdown, we could see a longer term period between communication. And let's say, you lost the ability to use your cell phone. Let's say it was something along the lines of a limited mass coronal ejection where, half the cell towers in the country are down or damaged or whatever. And I know people are going to correct me and say it's going to be all or nothing. But I know there's been cases throughout history where cities have lost it because of solar storms. But let's say it's a case of, you might have to mail a letter to somebody in your alternate state or alternate region to let them know you're okay. I think the idea of formulating at least a plan that is known by the family is a good idea, because it gives you a foundation. It gives you something to hold on to in the midst.
Well, it gives you options.
Yeah.
That's what preparedness is all about. It's about giving you options. You mentioned being able to send a letter or be able to, it doesn't have to be a major catastrophic event. It could be simply, I dropped my phone and it broke and now I don't have any numbers. And, oh gosh, this just happened to be the exact, put it this way. You're driving down the road. You get a flat tire. You already know that your spare tire was bad because for whatever reason, you just don't have a spare tire. As you get out of the car to take a look at the tire, your phone drops and breaks on the ground. So now you're stranded. You have no way to call anybody. Well, you're going to have to hoof it over to the gas station, but if you don't know anybody's number, who are you going to call? So it's something simple as an everyday emergency. That's a classic example of an everyday emergency. You've got your contact list. No problem. I whip it out. I call who I need to call. And then they don't worry and everything gets settled.
Hey guys, Charlie McGrath here at WideAwakeNews.com, and I'm here to tell you I believe that Chris and the folks over at SeedsNow.com offer the best product at the best prices with the best service of anybody in the market. But don't take my word for it. Listen to what some of their customers have to say. Joshua in Florida writes, exceeded my expectations. Shipping was prompt and a number of my plants are already starting to sprout. Thanks for being great. And Ryan in California writes, I just received my homestead seed bank, my all-in-one prepper pack, and seed-to-seed storage and growing guidebook, and I could not be more pleased. Thanks, Seeds Now. Now I can start growing and get off the GMOs. Keep up the great work. And the list goes on and on. Guys, it's time to make SeedsNow.com an integral part of your long-term preparedness strategy. Please call them at 877-344-4669. That number again, 877-344-4669, or better yet, visit them today at seedsnow.com.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Are chemtrail geoengineering programs changing our weather and destroying our environment? Why in the world are they spraying?
They want to create a storm in the southeast, then they'll start engineering out over the North Pacific. That's where the trailies will be.
Find out why critics are calling Why in the World Are They Spraying the most important film that is revolutionizing the environmental movement.
It's just going to get worse until the point where we're not going to be able to grow anything at all unless it's a Monsanto genetically modified, abiotic stress resistant seed.
Why in the world are they spraying? New international version with languages available from around the world. For 1 month, Rinse listeners receive free shipping. Go to the banner on the front of the Rinse website and click on the link for more info.
It's all about money, and weather is another form of commoditizing, a way the Central Command Group can commoditize another form of our life.
Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
Make a promise, take a vow, and trust your feelings, it's easy now. Understand the voice within and feel a change already beginning.
Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. We are talking preparation. 877-342-6673 is our number. We've spent most of the program talking about the everyday emergency, the everyday kit, the everyday bag, whatever you want to call it. And you know, it truly backed me up a peg, I guess, because I don't give a lot of consideration to the everyday event, you know, that might happen. Run out of gas, your tire blows out, you're stranded for whatever reason, your engine blows up. And these things do happen. All of us have experienced them at one point or another. But I guess prepping does start. I mean, you do need to start at the very, very basic.
Yeah. Well, that's what when I talk to other preppers, what I find is that they seem to try to be prepping for the big event, and they're overlooking or overstepping the everyday events. You know, I try to tell somebody and say, well, how can I start being prepared? Well, I suggest that you first make sure you have a good set of insurance policies. You know, home insurance, car insurance, health insurance, life insurance, you know, whatever you have, make sure you've got a good insurance, because you know, if your house burns down, you're going to need that insurance. You may have food storage, but if your food storage gets all burnt up, then, you know, it didn't do any good. You need to make sure you can take care of everyday emergency. If you break your leg, you know, you might have a really cool first aid kit, but trust me, you're going to want to go to the hospital. And if you have health insurance, then you don't have to worry about that financial burden of whatever it takes to get you fixed up. So those everyday emergencies are just as important as planning for, you know, EMP or CME or hyperinflation.
Well, one could say that's even more important, because it's far more often that these daily emergencies occur.
It's true. That's true. And I think it really depends on, I mean, I've known people who get in trouble all the time, and they definitely need to pay more attention to everyday emergencies. And I know people who hardly anything ever happens to, and it really depends on the person. You know, for example, your everyday carry kit, you know, you're up in more of a rural area than I am. I only work straight line distance of about 10 miles from my home. I could hoof it here in a matter of 2 or 3 hours if I really had to, you know, and so I don't plan. And by the way, I am coming home because this is where my family is. I will be here to protect them, whatever it takes. If they have to bug out, then just like you said, we have a plan. I know where they're going to be, so there's a fallback position that I know they're going to be safer at. So, for example, if we have to escape radioactive fallout or a chemical cloud or something like that, I know where they're going to be and where they're going to fall out to. And so I don't have to worry about, oh my God, I'm not there. You know, it's important that they know what needs to be done as well.
Right. Okay, so we've covered, the everyday emergency. And basically, I guess we could wrap up this first 45 minutes and saying common sense, let that be your guide every single day. Be ready for something small, be it a stubbed toe, a flat tire, whatever. I want to get to a question now from one of the folks in chat who asked, a 3-day bag. Let's extend this out a little. We have a crisis, and we are, for whatever reason, let's say you're traveling and you're 30 miles away from home, and you're going to run into some kind of resistance, and it's going to keep you home or keep you away from your goal, your ultimate goal, your driving goal, which is to get home and to your family. So you're going to be a couple days out, and I guess in listening to you speak, that would be the truck bag, and we're going to call it, for Cinter's sake, because he asked the question, a 3-day bag. What do you suggest as far as the next level of preparedness from the everyday to the very intermediate time?
Well, some people call it a 72-hour kit. Some people call it a bug back bag, or get home bag. Some people call it a bug out kit. It really centers on what you want to achieve with it. If it's a bag that is going to be designed to get you home, then you need to take a look at what it's going to take to get you home, especially if you can't drive it. If you live 30 miles away from home, if you work 30 miles away from home and your plan is to say, well, I'm going to get it home no matter what. If I can't drive, I'm going to walk. Well, the first thing you should probably look at is making sure you have a good, comfortable pair of shoes that are going to be rugged enough to handle a 30-plus mile hike. This is, especially important for women who typically don't wear sneakers to work. They usually wear, pumps or sandals or something like that. Down here in the desert, flip-flops, those little beach sandal things are very popular. Those aren't going to last very long on a 10, 20, 30-mile hike. So you need to make sure that you've got that covered. Then you need to take a look at the basics, water, food, fire, shelter, sanitation, because you're not going to be able to make that 30-mile trek in one day. You need to know what your path is. So you need to have a good set of maps that show you how you're going to get there. You need to look at what you want to accomplish. If you have, say, a big river between your work and your home, and the bridge is out, you need to say, well, what can I do to get across? It may take a weekend or so of exploring around there to find, are there any other bridges, or is there a shallow spot to the river? You can't just roll the dice and say, I'm going to see what happens. You really need to make your plan. And the plan needs to be as flexible as possible, but you really need to look at what you're trying to accomplish. In this case, getting home from work during a time of emergency or crisis.
Right. Yeah, and that's that's if you're stepping to that 72-hour bag, bug home bag. Again, when you're packing it, I would think that everything you put into there has to coordinate with your foundational goal. Once again, getting back to your family. Nothing else matters. So you're right. Your shoes. I've done 50-mile hikes before, and I'm telling you, it's not the time you want to find out that your footwear isn't up to the job, or isn't comfortable, or can't handle that kind of abuse.
And you want to start there, and whatever it takes to, let's just say 30 miles. Okay, you're going to hike 30 miles. You're going to need footwear. You're going to probably need to change the socks at least. You're going to say, there's no way I can make 30 miles in a day, especially if I need to be evasive and avoid danger spots. So we're probably looking at maybe a 2 or 3 day trek. That means you're going to have to sleep someplace. You're going to have some sort of equipment to sleep with comfortably. Getting sleep is very important. You're going to have to have something to eat. You're going to have water to drink. I mean, if you're hiking a lot, you're going to be using a lot of calories. You're going to be using a lot of water. Now, can you carry all that weight? Maybe. But this is where knowing going from point A to point B comes in mind, because you may say, oh, well, I know where there's a place to get food or a place to get water, and it may be just some cattails or some weeds that you can forage and eat. It's better than nothing. Carry some food, but if you're going to try to carry, let's say, a week's worth of food in your pack and a week's worth of water in your pack, you're not going to be able to do it. It's too heavy. So you need to take a look at how you're going to accomplish, what your solutions are going to be for, food, shelter, sanitation. What are you going to do for sanitation on the way there? You're not going to simply be able to shut down your body for 3 days. Maybe, but maybe not. You need to, what happens if stress hits your system and suddenly you have diarrhea because you're so worried about what's going on at home? You need to be able to, not only do I need Band-Aids and gauze and tape to handle physical injury, but you're going to need some medication to be able to take care of allergies and diarrheal issues and stuff like that. These are real world things that can happen that need to be in your get home bag to make sure you can get home.
Well, and I think the number one thing that you touched on there that jumps out is the worry of loved ones being out of communication with them is, I think, an often overlooked and underestimated terror that people don't take enough time to think about and prepare for. Again, it brings me back to sitting down with my family and saying, I will be here. This is my goal. I will not stop until this is where I'm at. So that comfort, that little piece of information that they know what you're doing, you know what they're doing, is a huge thing that will keep that anxiety, at least hopefully at bay when you're attempting to do this 30-mile trek.
Yeah. And, I could list a whole bunch of equipment that you might want to have in your pack, but we don't really have the time for this. So I'm trying to cover some concepts of.
Oh, we got another hour, buddy. You're good to go.
Well,
but we are running into the break. But I wrote down in the 3-day pack, which my 3-day pack is my everyday pack. Seriously, with the exception of a few items that are left in the vehicle. Namely, I do have hiking boots that are in that vehicle, well worn. I've walked hundreds of miles in them. So I know they'll work in just about any condition unless we are extremely frigid cold. And then a sleeping bag, which I don't have in my backpack. But that stuff is, it's close to me at all times. The food issue, I carry the freeze-dried food, the By Emergency Foods freeze-dried food. I plan on, in that situation, and that is a real relevant situation for me, where you would want to avoid urban areas. I think I look at Katrina as a guideline for a 3-day emergency, where I want to avoid having conflict with anybody because A, I don't want to hurt anybody. B, I don't want to get hurt. And C, or this should be A, I want to get home. I want to get to my foundation point, my start point. And right. I want to see my family again. And I don't want to, I don't want them to see me with a bullet hole in me or a knife wound in me, somebody trying to take what I got. So the notion that avoiding human contact in this crisis situation is paramount to me. And is that paranoid or is that common sense, or what your thought on that? And then take a
No, it's not paranoid. See, people often think, I want to be prepared, so I must be paranoid. That's how a lot of other people look at us preppers as, you're paranoid. No, I'm not paranoid. I'm not paranoid. I'm prepared.
Paranoid.
I'm not worried about it. I'm confident that I can handle the situation.
Oh my God, I know what I'm doing now. After this program, I'm calling my shirt guy, and I'm getting Preparedness T-shirts made.
I get 20%.
You could have 50% and the first shirt free. Bob Hanus and more Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes, guys. Please hang tight. More prep. 877-342-6673. Are we missing something from our everyday pack and our 3-day pack? Let us know. Give us a call. We'll be back in just a few minutes.
Hanus.
our prep expert and guest for 2 hours tonight. If you have questions, let me check and see if we got any new questions rolling in here. I apologize. I was trying to upload a video during the break, or I'd have pulled some more out of chat. If you have questions you need to get asked or suggestions, please call in 877-342-6673, and we will definitely get your question or comment asked. I do have one caller from California. David, we're going to go to you in just a second here. But I want to share something Rob said to me during the break, which is extremely important and extremely right. Or I believe it's right anyway, Rob. The asking someone, a professional who's dedicated a lot of time and thought into prepping, what they should have in their kit is kind of a question that can't be answered. And hopefully it came across in that first hour that what's more important, at least in my belief, and I believe Rob's as well, is the thought process that goes into prepping for, my thought process has been expanded now to encompass this everyday emergency thing. I think I'm sorely lacking there. And then the thought process that goes into your 3-day bag or your bug home bag. Not, because, Rob's in warm Arizona, even though, there's some high desert there that gets cold, but he doesn't need a 20 below zero rated sleeping bag. I do. If I have a situation in Montana in February and I have to utilize the worst case scenario for a 3-day bag, and if I don't have that, I'm going to die. That's that simple. I'm going to die because we have regularly that kind of weather. So the thought process to me is far more important than getting a list of, I need to have A, B, C, and D. It's the notion of understanding what you want to do and what your end goal is. If your end goal isn't achieved, if you don't have that goal, you're missing a big motivating factor in the survival period, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in here we need wide brim hats, sunscreen, and protective lip balm. Where you're at, you need snow boots, wool socks, and sleeping bags and parkas for a good portion of the year. And your kit is not going to be the same as my kit. And so a lot of what I've focused on is distilling down the process of not what you have to have, not what items you need to have, but what you need to accomplish in order to make sure you have a fully functioning kit.
No doubt about it. All right, let's go to David, who's been holding for a little bit here. David from California, thank you for the call and participation. Question, comment, or suggestion?
No, I have an important comment. Is don't become complacent. I've always thought I was like Boy Scout like, and I go mushroom hunting, and I had a backpack with me to collect mushrooms, and I had some survival gear with me, and I got lost in the forest, and I was wearing just kind of basic clothes. And I thought, okay, I'm lost. I'll start a fire. And it got dark. And I had my headlamp with me, of course, diode headlamp. But the battery started wearing out. So I had to be, very cautious about gathering this damp firewood to start a fire. And then my lighter gave out. So I'm like in trouble. And I thought I was all prepared with a little, day pack to survive, and I wasn't prepared. I hadn't been consistent with keeping up my gear.
That's why you had these multiple failures, is it was just a maintenance issue?
Yeah, I thought I was covered, I thought I had the stuff I needed, but no, I didn't. I didn't have any extra batteries. I didn't have any extra lighters to light the fire, and I had a heck of a time that night. I had to sleep out on the ground, trying to keep my fire going. And so it's just not enough to just make it once.
Well,
but you.
Yeah.
Well, this brings up a really good. This is a really good example of things that you should be doing to make sure you're prepared that have really not a whole lot to do with what you're storing. As you mentioned, complacency kills. When you get complacent, no matter what it is.
Food bars, for example, I didn't have food bars, but.
Well, that's the other part is you need to test your preps. Maybe you should take a little bag of stuff, which you know is a good thing that you have. But if you haven't gone through it in a while to know what's expired or what wore out or what leaked or what doesn't work anymore, on your day trip, just hey, you know what? I'm going to start a fire to make sure this works, or I'm going to eat one of my granola bars to make sure it is.
I'm on a survival site too, and I recommend test yourself. Go out there and pretend. Don't put yourself in danger, but pretend this is all you have. What can you do?
Absolutely. If you haven't tested your preps, then they don't work.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether you bought it new. If you don't test it, you don't know it works.
Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Thank you very much.
Hey, great call, great advice. Don't become complacent. Work your plan. I'm gonna boil it down to that. Don't become complacent. And if you have a plan, make sure it works. And a test run will tell you instantly. I suggest doing it in the middle of summer because if your lighter doesn't work and you can't start a fire in some places, like I said, you just die. David, great call. Thank you for your participation. Rick from Nevada, I'm gonna get you on, but I'm gonna wait till after this break, only because if I bring you on now, you're only gonna have a minute or two to ask your question or state your comment. So I'll get you on immediately after this next break. Rob, complacency is a killer. I learned that in the military that you don't assume anything. And if you are, you're going to assume that it's going to fail. So you have a backup plan, and you have a maintenance drill, and you have resources to go to plan B. And if you don't, then you're not prepared.
Right. Complacency is Murphy's best friend, and it will come to bite you when you most need it. And so being prepared is basically a lifetime skill. You don't take 1 week, a year, and go through whatever it is you think you need to be prepared for, and then say, I'm done for the next year. I'll see you next September. No, you have to do it on a regular basis. It's a lifestyle. It's a mindset. It's not just having food storage. It's looking ahead to see what can come back to bite you in the butt. What's going to happen? Like, for example, the economy. Oh, not looking so good. What can I do now to prepare for possible future events, whatever that may be, whether they happen or not? The fact that you prepare just in case is why we do this. I do it for my family.
Absolutely. And contingencies, I think, are very important.
You have to have backups.
Yeah.
You need to have a primary and 2 backups at a minimum. That's a three ways of doing something. Just to start a fire, you should have a primary way of starting a fire and 2 backups. That could be, your primary way could be a butane lighter because it's convenient. Why not use technology where technology exists? But if that butane lighter fails, well, then I've got matches. Those either run out or fail, then I've got a flint and steel. And so I've got 3 ways to start a fire. You should always have a minimum of 3 ways to do something, the primary and 2 backups.
Yeah, great advice. And I want to get into at some time in the program about the danger of falling in love with a plan because, you talked about Murphy's Law. All plans are subject to massive, massive failure. And, I know that I own a home 100 miles away from where I live. If you haven't heard the story before, it's a long one. I've relocated for work. And I know that I can go to that home that I own and I have supplies there. So I'm ready, if need be, to sacrifice everything I have in my current location. Everything. Weapons, food, you name it. Silver, whatever it is. I can't fall in love with the material because that, I think, is a sure way to get yourself in a lot of trouble. Don't respond to that. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to have Rick from Nevada, and then I want to talk to Rob a little bit more about the bigger picture and the bigger crisis in the last couple segments of the program. We're going to be back with Rob Hanus, prep expert, and more Wide Awake News Radio in just a few minutes. Charlie McGrath of WideAwakeNews.com here with a question from my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. What do they know that we don't? Insiders and a who's who list of elite have made it crystal clear that we are headed for catastrophe, putting out warning after warning, urging people to batten down the hatches. Billionaire George Soros has recently been dumping stocks and at the same time acquiring millions in gold. In fact, in a recent interview, he was quoted as saying, "I'm not here to cheer you up. The situation is as serious and difficult as I've experienced in my career." Out of control government deficit spending and a Federal Reserve that's only solution seems to be print more fiat currency will lead to a weaker dollar and massive inflation on necessity items such as energy and food. If you have wealth to protect, please visit my friends at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion. Gabe Elton and the folks at Austin Rare Coins and Bullion have many Wide Awake News customers because they're honest, they're fair, and they won't sell you paper promises or product they do not have. Call Gabe Elton at 800-552-4109. That number again, 800-552-4109, or visit him online at austincoins.com.
Remember this name, Carnivora. That's CARNIVORA.com. What if I told you that this 100% pure and natural product was delivered directly to the White House at President Reagan's personal request at a time when only the president was able to obtain it? Reagan used this amazing product, Carnivora, successfully, a product derived only from nature that has the intelligence to instinctively attack abnormal cells only without harming a single normal cell, and the power to actually wake up critical immune cells from dormancy to attack foreign invaders that don't belong in our bodies. Carnivora is now obtainable by anyone who wants to get healthy and stay that way. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and protect yourself with 17 naturally occurring compounds that will unleash powerful immune defense. That's 1-866-VENUS-FLY. Call 1-866-VENUS-FLY and get your Carnivora today. Visit carnivora.com.
Will 2012 bring the Mayan end of world or the global banking collapse? In 2007, one man, Mike Dillard, made 5 predictions which forecasted the 2008 economic crisis and the pending Eurozone collapse. This week, Mike unleashes 3 brand new, shocking, must-watch videos with predictions for the coming year. www.the3videos.com. Over the past year, Mike Dillard has helped thousands of ordinary people create and recover wealth by tapping into the black box investing strategies the big banks don't want you to know about. www.the3videos.com. As the European banking system implodes and governments collapse at breakneck speeds, the next 12 months will be the most anticipated and important months in modern human history. This will make 2008 look like a walk in the park. Everyone will be affected. Go to www.the3videos.com now. Learn how to prepare your family and prosper during the global financial collapse.
Welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. I'm Charlie McGrath. Rob Hanus, prep expert, is our guest. And honest, I am going to go immediately to Rick from Nevada with either question or comment or a suggestion. Rick, thanks very much for holding. I appreciate it. What do you got?
Hi. Yeah, I just wanted to make some suggestions for your bug-out bag or your get-home bag. One thing that I use, that I've actually had to use several times, is like the Mainstay food bars, because they're really small and they have a lot of calories. Like a month's worth of food fits in a shoebox size container. I mean, they're small. They have like a 5-year shelf life. They're not temperature thing. You don't have to cook them. You just open it up, eat it. It's non-thirst provoking. I've eaten several of them, and they're pretty good. And also, as far as water's really limited. So a good thing to know is how to make a solar distiller. You know, where you dig a hole in the ground and put some plastic over it with a cup down inside to condense the water.
I've actually done that before, Rick. And I got a question, for both of you guys. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a little colder climate. I've not had a lot of success with that. And I've dug, probably 4-foot diameter, area where I could cover with clear plastic, put a stone in the middle. Down in the bottom, I had a little collection cup, and I wanted to see how much I could get over. I left it there throughout the night and in the morning to see how much I could collect. and it was woefully inadequate for me. Do you have better luck in the hotter climates in Nevada and
No, actually, no. I mean, they can work, but you need to seed them with some sort of vegetation. But even so, you're going to need like 30 of them a day to provide enough water here in the desert to drink with.
Yeah, it's not very good.
And they're not real practical if you're going to be on the move at all, because you got to set them up and stuff.
It is a good thing, it's easy to make. All it takes is a piece of plastic, and
it is a good survival skill to know, because it is way better than nothing, and you could do the same thing with a plastic bag, tie it over a tree branch or something, and let the transpiration from the plant actually provide the water. So yeah, it's definitely one of those skills that you should know, but you should also know that it's not as convenient as, say, digging for a soft spot in the sand at the bend of a river where there might be some water underground.
And I would imagine for you and Rick, this is critical. Where I live, there's a creek or a stream every, it seems like every mile. So the acquisition of water is a lot less an issue here than it would be there.
Yeah, we do have issues here with water. But Rick, you brought up the mainstay bars, and I gotta say that's a really good suggestion. That's the ones I actually carry in my what I call my fast pack, which is my bug out bag or get home bag, whatever you want to call it, because here in the desert, the big problem is how do you store food when the trunk of your car or your truck or your inside your car is going to get 120, 130 degrees, and these mainstay bars are the solution for that, because they're Coast Guard rated for high heat and freezing temperatures, and so you can store them for the full 5 years in the heat of the sun in your car, and they're just fine. They are really cool for that sort of.
Yeah, you're also not using any of your water to have to cook them either, and you don't have to start a fire to cook it. You don't have to use your water. Just eat them right out of the thing, fold the bag back up, and continue on. But I think it's also a good idea to have a few silver coins in your bag, in case you come across something you can trade something for, or need to buy something from somebody, or also Vaseline soaks cotton balls in a baggie for your little fire starter things, and some waterproof matches, and the little space sleeping bags or space blankets are lightweight, hardly any room. But as far as bugging in, I think another good idea is to shut your power off for a couple of days when you have a weekend off, and find out just what you are going to need.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That's a great idea. I mean, that's implementing a plan a hardcore way. I would be willing to bet that even the most dedicated prepper would have not had a comfortable time going a weekend if they threw that power switch on their house.
Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I definitely recommend you doing it. It's called a grid down exercise. You either shut the power off or you tape down all your switches. I don't really recommend unplugging your refrigerator and freezer, because unless you actually are going to run alternate power. But it's a good exercise for your family to kind of get used to all the little nuances that you don't think about when you have electricity. One of the things you'll immediately notice is that it's a habit to flip on that light switch when you walk into a darkened room. And even though the power's off, your hand is over there hitting that switch every time you walk into a darkened room. You're like, I can't stop doing this, So yeah, it's a great exercise to really put your prep for your shelter in place and test them, because again, you need to test them, and that's a really good suggestion.
The mainstay bar, is that a brand name, or is that something you guys are making?
No, it is what they're called, and they actually got better. They used to be, you could only get them in either 2,400 or 3,600 calorie packs, but they've recently come out with, actually I'm not even sure if it's mainstay, but there's another, I'm trying to remember the name of them, but they're like 400 calories. They're about the size of an energy bar. Mm-hmm. And I really like these because I can just open just one if I need a little bit of energy and not have to waste a whole bar. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I like them again, and they're heat tolerant, which is really important out here in the desert.
No doubt. Rick, did you have anything else? We're coming up on a break here. I want to make sure
just a couple things. It's a good idea to have a little small portable radio so you can keep in tune with what is going on, keep up with the news, and like a respirator or a gas mask in case there is some biological or chemical thing. A little respirator doesn't take up a lot of room, but a gas mask is there. Of course, it covers your eyes also. But that's about it.
Right on, Rick. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Hey, I appreciate you calling in and sharing your ideas. Thank you very much. We're going to be back with Rob Hanus, more Wide Awake News Radio, in just a few minutes. Hey guys, it's Charlie McGrath with Wide Awake News Radio and WideAwakeNews.com. In 2007, 26 million Americans were on food stamps. 2012, the numbers exploded to over 46 million people relying on the government to put food on the table. Debts out of control across the planet, pushing us towards a financial Armageddon. Talk of war seems to fill every newscast. And disasters, both man-made and natural, seem to be on the rise. Can you think of a better time in history than now to be prepared for the unexpected? Guys, I want to introduce you to our new partners in alternative media. BuyEmergencyFoods.com. BuyEmergencyFoods.com offers the best kind of emergency food, Legacy Premium, with the largest variety available in the freeze-dried food industry. Each meal is packed for freshness in an individual nitrogen-flushed Mylar pouch. The meal is then sealed in a stackable heavy-duty plastic container that's easy to store, easy to transport, and won't be damaged by water or rodents. So if you're worried about food inflation, economic crisis, unemployment, natural disaster, then don't delay. Prepare your family now. Visit our new partners in alternative media, BuyEmergencyFoods.com. Give them a call at 888-543-7345, or again, visit them at BuyEmergencyFoods.com.
You're listening to Charlie nationwide and worldwide on the internet on the Rinse Radio Network. Known worldwide as the most consistently fascinating, informative, and unique program on radio, the Jeff Rince program can be yours to listen to anytime, anywhere, whenever you want to hear it. For pennies a day, our subscribers can download any of Jeff's thousands of programs featuring a treasury of newsmakers, researchers, eyewitnesses, and incredible subjects, all in MP3 commercial-free, crystal-clear 56-bit digital sound, and take these often unforgettable programs with them wherever they go. As a subscriber, you can also listen live at airtime, online, anywhere in the world, or browse through our archives of over 10,000 hours of legendary broadcasts. Subscribe now by taking the link at the top of Rinse.com and enrich your mind with the most unique panorama of vital information and the best independent, honest journalism in radio. Look for the Subscribe Now link on Rinse.com and give yourself the knowledge you need for these unprecedented times.
Heart-related health problems affect millions of people each year. Maybe you're one of the many who suffer from issues related to angina pain, high blood pressure, congestive heart failure, unbalanced cholesterol, irregular heartbeat, or clogged arteries. There is a solution that doesn't involve expensive prescription drugs that only mask the problem and leave you with horrible side effects. If you are ready to live your life free of sickness, pain, and fear, live your life with increased vitality, energy, and youthfulness, and experience your body healing itself, then you're ready for Heart and Body Extract from Healthy Hearts Club. Heart and Body Extract has a 23-year proven track record of using certified organic herbs that make up an excellent formula to balance and support the heart and circulatory system. In as little as 2 weeks, you can feel amazing results when your 2-month supply of Heart and Body Extract today. Call 1-866-295-5305 or go to hbextract.com.
Final two segments of Wide Awake News Radio tonight with Rob Hanus of Preparedness Pod Cast. You broadcast that what days?
Well, I don't really have a set schedule, but I'm putting out at least 2 a week. I try to get them out like on Tuesdays and Thursdays or Tuesdays and Fridays. But, you know, I don't have a schedule. Sometimes it takes too long to prep a podcast. You know, some of the what's that?
Pun intended. To prep a podcast.
Oh, yes. Not really, but like, you know, some of the podcasts I've had in the past about EMP and hyperinflation. I mean, these were multi podcasts. You know, there's several podcasts, 2, 3 long, and you know, they're quite intense. And what I'm trying to do with the podcast is when I cover a subject, I want to cover it, and I don't want to have to go back to it because I forgot something. Right. I'm trying to get it. So a lot of times what happens is I do my research, I pull all my notes in, and I'm trying to create this syllabus of what I want to take. And a lot of times it just takes a lot longer than I thought. And other times I just don't, I just not sure what I want to cover. And so usually it's a last minute thing or something. So
yeah. And
plus, quite honestly, everyday life gets in the way quite often. You know, I've got a wife, 3 kids, a dog, a job, all that stuff's got to be, you know, those are my priorities. And the podcast honestly comes after I take care of all those real life priorities.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I know what you mean. We didn't the one you and I did on a financial crisis. I mean, that, you know, what was going to start out as an hour ended up being a couple hours. I mean, it can certainly you know, go down rabbit holes. You know, you and I talked during the break that we could do 4 hours. I mean, we've been going an hour and a half, and we've talked about everyday bag and maybe a 3-day bag. You know, we could certainly go on for, you know, hours and hours if we got into different scenarios.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. That's one of the things I like about the topic of preparedness is that, you know, it's a wide range of topics, everything from food storage to vehicle repair to, you know, guns and computers and, you know, water filter. I mean, it's you kind of have to know a little bit about a lot of things, and I like that. I like having that breadth of knowledge. I don't like having to do the same thing all the time, and
it's a lot of stuff that you know, listening to you speak. I mean, it's a lot of stuff that might have been more known, certainly even just 50, 60 years ago by earlier generations. I mean, a lot of stuff is basic. You know, you're how you going to grow food, how you going to you know, how you going to handle wild game, how you going to know how to find water, that kind of thing that, you know, earlier generations had to know.
Oh, exactly. Our great grandparents and our great great grandparents, they were preppers, but they never knew it. They were ready for everyday emergencies and the, you know, occasional crisis simply because of their everyday life. I mean, that was, you know, putting food by and making sure you had a good well and tending to your livestock and growing either crops on the farm or crops in a big garden and taking care of the family and all these things of how to can food. They knew all this stuff because it was an everyday part of life. Mm-hmm. Technology has abstracted us from those basic core life skills, and that's what a lot of preppers are trying to get back to. That's what the homestead movement is people going, you know what? I like technology, but not so much that I want to make it a part of my life every minute. And so they move back to a rural location. They get a nice little house with a few acres, or probably it's a small farm, and they do what they can to, you know, to live a more simpler life. And it's really attractive to a lot of people. And that is a form of preparedness, is actually, you know, reducing your lifestyle to a more natural and basic sort of fundamental way of life. You know, I mean, if you think about it, we work all day for what? Money. What do we do with that money? Well, we buy food, shelter, water. You know, we pay for sanitation and garbage pickup, and it's like, well, gosh, if you could do that all for yourself, if you could grow your own food, produce your own water, you know, take care of your own sanitation, you know, burn your garbage out in the back 40 and stuff like that. It's the same thing. We've traded work. And on one hand, you make your own stuff. On the other hand, you get paper that says you can go out and buy the same stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's all about, with the exception of trying to, you know, save for retirement, but even then, you're saving to get the basic necessity items you need in order to survive. You're right. Food, water, energy, shelter. I mean, this is what we go. You know, we're compartmentalized now. You know, everybody makes their own little widget, and in exchange for that, they get the things that you just spoke to. And I think a lot of, if you ponder this, if you give any thought at all to the notion that technology and energy and the combination of the two has led to a mass population boom on the planet. We're not growing by this billion people every couple of years. It wouldn't happen without technology and without energy.
Oh, absolutely not.
So
and that's why we have so much population, and that's why if anything happens to the technology, the population has to reduce because we can't support it. We can't support 330 or 310 million people in this country with mid 1800s technology. It's not possible.
No, we can't. We would have we'd have to reach an equilibrium of what can be produced, and unfortunately, there's going to be a very painful learning curve in there, where people, if we went into, and we're jumping from 3-day bag into Uber worst case scenario, something along the lines of, I'm sure, have you been watching what's the series name, where the power revolution, where the power goes out, and I've seen
I saw the first episode and I wasn't really thrilled with it. But that is the concept, is something, an EMP or some sort of event takes out the technology and the power, and everybody's forced to go back to, living a mid 1800s lifestyle. The problem with that, though, in real terms, is it wouldn't be mid 1800s. It would probably be like mid 1700s, because in the mid 1800s you had people who knew how to do these skills, how to grow food, how to plow, how to can, how to shoe a horse, how to make tools out of metal and fire. We don't know these things. I mean, collectively we do, but you as an individual or even a small community that suddenly had to revert back to all these skill sets, it's not there. You're not going to make it, and that is part of what that I think that show was supposed to be. But the reality of the situation is, that's the way it is. Without technology, we can't support the population, and so let's hope it never happens.
There's regions of the world that are more agrarian than others. Are certainly. I don't even. I've read the statistic before where, during the Depression, it was the majority of people were still somewhat connected to the production of basic necessity items such as food, right? So it was more agrarian than it was industrial, and now it's a very, very small fraction of the population is dedicated to producing the basic necessity items that we all absolutely not want, but absolutely need. And you throw us back to, it isn't 1700s. I mean, you throw the country, a lot of people, back to literally romper room, right? Caveman. They're hunter gatherers. There's no ability to grow or to build a shelter or anything like that. You're just back to literally using the knowledge you've acquired over how many years of urban living in most cases, because most people live in cities, and that is not a comforting thought. Holy cow!
No,
right through that break, I wanted to talk to you about communication. We're gonna, I'll leave it open to you on the last segment where you want to go, because as we could go on for hours and hours, but we're gonna be back. Final segment with Rob, Hanus, and more Wide Awake News Radio. Hang tight. Hey guys, Charlie McGrath here at WideAwakeNews.com, and I'm here to tell you I believe that Chris and the folks over at SeedsNow.com offer the best product at the best prices with the best service of anybody in the market. But don't take my word for it. Listen to what some of their customers have to say. Joshua in Florida writes, exceeded my expectations. Shipping was prompt and a number of my plants are already starting to sprout. Thanks for being great. And Ryan in California writes, I just received my Homestead Seed Bank, my all-in-one prepper pack, and seed-to-seed storage and growing guidebook, and I could not be more pleased. Thanks, Seeds Now. Now I can start growing and get off the GMOs. Keep up the great work. And the list goes on and on. Guys, it's time to make seedsnow.com an integral part of your long-term preparedness strategy. Please call them at 877-344-4669. That number again, 877-344-4669, or better yet, visit them today at seedsnow.com.
If you're taking 1, 2, 5, or more nutritional supplements, please stop. Simplify your supplementation with Bio Superfood, the most advanced nutritional whole food supplement you can buy. Men, women, children, even Olympic athletes the world over have discovered Bio Superfood from BioAge.com. And now take just one nutritional supplement instead of many. The Bio Superfood formulas are whole food products composed with 4 of the most nutrient-dense algae found on Earth. Bio Superfood for the brain helps with focus, memory, clarity, and mood. If you can increase brain health, the rest of the body is a no-brainer. Bio Superfood has 0 toxicity and is safe for you and your family. Learn more and order your Bio Superfood formulas at BioAge.com, spelled BIOAGE.com, BioAge.com, or call 877-288-9116. That's 877-288-9116. BioAge, the age of advanced organics.
Are chemtrail geoengineering programs changing our weather and destroying our environment? Why in the world are they spraying?
They want to create a storm in the southeast, then they'll start engineering out over the North Pacific. That's where the trailies will be.
Find out why critics are calling Why in the World Are They Spraying the most important film that is revolutionizing the environmental movement.
It's just going to get worse until the point where we're not going to be able to grow anything at all unless it's a Monsanto genetically modified, abiotic stress resistant seed.
Why in the world are they spraying? New international version with languages available from around the world. For 1 month, Rinse listeners receive free shipping. Go to the banner on the front of the Rinse website and click on the link for more info.
It's all about money, and weather is another form of commoditizing, a way the Central Command Group can commoditize another form of our life.
Why in the world are they spraying?
And if you control the weather, you're going to control the planet. It's that simple.
Make a promise, take a vow, and trust your feelings. It's easy now. Understand the voice within.
Guys, welcome back to Wide Awake News Radio. Final segment with Rob Hanus. We're talking preparation, and I wanted to get into the topic a little bit of communication because we had Rick from Nevada talking about bringing a radio. I do have a little hand crank radio, but someone in chat had asked about communication and shortwave radio. Are you into that at all? I mean, are you connected via shortwave with other preppers around the country and world?
Well, I am a ham or a licensed ham radio operator, but I don't really get on all that much. I can run HF, which is the frequencies that allow you to talk across the world, but quite honestly, I don't have a radio that does that. But, having a shortwave radio, or I should say actually having an AM, FM, and shortwave radio, I think is a good radio to have because you can get local stations, especially with the FM and the AM stations around you. But in a more major crisis, AM stations can travel a long distance. So you might be able to pull information up from cities that are 100 miles away so you can grab information. Or even on the shortwave, you can pull up, say, for example, the BBC or whatever stations are transmitting from in other countries, and these countries may not be affected, so you might still be able to get information from them simply because you can pull in these signals.
Yeah, and I have been asked this before, but I've had people say they'd like to see the program go out over shortwave, and first of all, I'm certainly not an expert on it at all, but it's not cheap to get into. But I think the thought of it now is there's not a lot of people participating in it. Now, there's probably some ham radio operators that are going to be mad at that, but obviously the internet is reaching a lot more people even than terrestrial radio. But it is a great idea, and I wish I had more knowledge on it and maybe even capacity to do that because that's something that is going to be hard to take away, right?
Well,
go ahead.
Here again is technology transforming the way we do things. You know, technology is needed in order to sustain this many people in this country. Well, here we have the technology, the internet. I mean, you can literally on your cell phone pick up many shortwave stations. You can pick up even some of the ham radio amateur repeaters and stations through different pieces of software. You can pick up radio stations, AM, FM, from across the country on your cell phone and have it with you in your house, in your car, at work, wherever you are, because of technology. You know, nobody wants to run a shortwave radio or a ham station because it is inconvenient. You gotta set up this huge antenna. You gotta have tuners. You gotta have this all costs bucks. You know, this isn't cheap. Whereas you can get a $200 cell phone that basically you're not transmitting, although I think you can do that too with some apps. But I can receive all the information just as easily or far easier on my phone. However, shortwave radio is still hugely popular in those countries that have low tech. For example, a lot of the countries in Africa, Zimbabwe or someplace like that, they still listen to the BBC, just as, for example, on shortwave. That is their main source of information. So when technology is culled, however that would happen, an EMP or a CME event or something like that, you know, you have to look at these lower tech solutions, and shortwave radio will be, quite honestly, probably one of those solutions.
Yeah, and I mean, it brings you back to the point that this way we're communicating right now, even though there's a lot of people who exchange information via the internet, very easy to, and getting even more easy for it to be something that's done away with, and then you're truly left with, you know, you're all the way back to your list of written contacts in your pocket. You know, how many people have everything on everything that they would be lost without, that is a dead battery away from being gone in your smartphone.
Right, and you know, communication is paramount if you're trying to coordinate any sort of plan or enact any sort of plan. And so, yes, you could become amateur radio licensed people and have your rigs and stuff, but even though the advantage of amateur radio is that it's the only form of publicly available communication technology that allows you to communicate locally and across the world without any other infrastructure. You can do it completely on your own. You don't need the internet. You don't need a cell phone or a phone line or nothing. You can do it all self-contained.
That guy is going to be very, very popular in a breakdown crisis.
Well, put it this way: it's so prevalent that the federal government has pretty much come out and said that ham radio operators are a national resource, because in a major crisis, they are the only way that even the federal government will be able to transmit when all their other technology fails, because, you know, they don't do what the hams do. But the big problem with that is if you're trying to say, oh, I'm going to talk to my wife or my family when I'm 30 miles away at home and a crisis happens, well, your wife has to become an amateur radio licensed operator as well. And, you know, a lot of them don't want to be. And so, you know, because you have to know how to run the radios and run it off of a battery or charge it and the antenna and stuff. And,
right.
And you know, both sides need to be licensed and stuff, at least do it legally. So that to me is a big fail point in family communication plans, is because there's usually one side of the equation that doesn't want to actually go through all the trouble. So that's something.
Right.
That,
so you end up with you end up with a network of folks who are they're enthusiasts, right? They really are into it, and you know, and you would have that in a real breakdown situation where you might have folks in Phoenix that have become, you know, the new library, the new post office, and the new internet all in one.
Yeah, actually, in a grid down or a societal collapse sort of situation, yeah, you're going to see that. Probably not right away, but eventually, when things try to get back together, you know, if there is any equipment still running, yeah, that's what you're going to see. Because say the earthquake in Haiti or the earthquake in I think New Zealand, you know, a big, huge, massive earth shakers. The only way they really knew about it is because amateur radio operators got on the air and started transmitting, hey, massive earthquake at this location.
Yeah.
And so it is going to be the way that people communicate. It's just, it won't happen until there is no form out there. And if you think about what it's going to take to get to that point,
it's going to be a scary situation.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because we're rapidly running out of time. About 4 minutes to go here. You're in, obviously, the prep community. You host a podcast on it, very well educated in the field of prep. And I'm assuming you communicate with a lot of other folks that are as deep into it as you are. What is, in your opinion, what is the scenarios that are going to play out? I'm not talking the daily emergencies and the need to be prepared for these daily events. But are you and the community seeing, anticipating certain events that you're gearing toward now more than others?
I would have to say that the biggest issue on preppers' minds as a collective right now is hyperinflation or some sort of economic collapse. You can go through history and see what every other country has done, and they all end up in hyperinflation when they're doing what we're doing. So I think that is probably the biggest issue on people's minds. I know preppers who've been planning for this and preparing for this for over a decade now because they saw it and they're like, yep, I know it's going to happen. I know where this is going. And they just set a path and a plan, and they've been working it ever since. Other catastrophic events that are a possibility is our EMP and coronal mass ejections. Either one of them can take out the power grid for years. And at that point, we are talking about, back to a 1700s or an 1800 sort of technology level, and it isn't going to be pretty or pleasant in any sort of definition. I think those are probably the two biggest ones that are on people's minds right now.
Yeah, well, and obviously the economic one is, one that you and I have talked about before, and I certainly see either an outright global. I see no faster way to affect the globe, almost instantaneously, than having a cascading financial collapse. But even if that isn't in the near future, current economic situations is leading to multiple crises in multiple locations at multiple times. And I'm talking, the riots that we see now in certain parts of the Midwest, in some of these cities that are hardest hit by economic downturn, where you see hopelessness on the rise. You will absolutely see a bigger and bigger need to have the ability to stay in your home, to stay in your location that you have deemed your safe location. But I agree with you and the prepper community in general that a situation is on the horizon that is going to be, I think, unlike anything we've ever experienced before, because of the fact that, loads are bigger than they've ever been before, and collusion between not only corporations but governments is at a level that I think we've never seen before. And when it all comes crashing down, I personally believe it'll be by design to upwardly integrate power. It's going to be a situation where you do not want to be the one who has to go out and venture out and look for resources you need to keep alive. Because it's either A, going to be used as a tool to get you to comply, or B, you're going to enter into a situation that is going to get you hurt.
Right, and that is the situation we're facing right now because, as the economy continues to go on this path, look at China and the petrodollar and setting up their system to be used as an alternative to the dollar to buy oil. That's not a good situation. The collapse of the dollar, possibly there's talk out there of not being the global reserve currency anymore. I think that's a real situation. And I think that's much more plausible than anybody in the mainstream, at least, is getting talked to, because it's too scary. Oh, that can't happen. Well, right. You know what? It's going to happen because we're trashing the dollar. Nobody wants to deal with it.
It's inevitable. It's inevitable. It's inevitable, and people don't. They want to hold on to this normalcy bias till the very, very bitter end. Rob Hanus, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming on. Preparedness Podcast. Go to Google and just type in Preparedness Podcast. It'll take you right to his site. Check out his archived podcast, and keep an eye out for his new ones coming up. And I want to thank Chris Atkins at bioemergencyfoods.com for introducing Rob and I. Since the first time we spoke, we've been guests multiple times now on each other's program. Thank you, bioemergencyfoods.com. Guys, enjoy Jeff Rentz, because he is coming up next. Tomorrow night is going to be myself, and let me look. I know Eric Lovely is going to be joining me for hour number 1. Hour number 2 looks like we have... Oh, is that Christ? I have Chris from Seeds Now on. Outstanding. We're going to talk about seed bombs. We're going to, guys, stay tuned. We're going to be back after these, after a few messages here with Jeff Rentz. Enjoy your night. Peace.